So my name is Juan Carlos Salinas. I am the Director of Education at Jamaica Center for Arts and Learning. JCAL, as it's commonly known to most people, is a community center here in the neighborhood of Jamaica, Queens. We've been around since the 70s. We are the leading arts education and cultural institution in Southeast Queens.
I'm Joseph Linus, and I'm the co-artistic director of Mass Transit Theater. So at Mass Transit, our goal is to promote social emotional literacy, racial equity, and social justice. And the way we do that is using interactive theater, workshops, and video. So I'm really excited to be a part of this project and creating this video in collaboration with the Jamaica Center for Arts and Learning, which is where we are.
So this year, because of the pandemic, we decided to take a different approach. We said, let's create some video content. There's a lot of free video content out there right now for people to see, and we're like, what would be meaningful for us and for the community? My interpretation is this is an unprecedented moment in time. History books will be written about before and after 2020. Furthermore, they're gonna look back to see who documented this, what happened. We wanted to capture how this impacted our youth in the greater Jamaica community, Queens community, because, it's been a troubling year for everyone. But if you think of the development of a young adult being stuck at home, feeling trapped, not having that camaraderie of a school, how does that impact people? How did they cope? How did they survive?
We're bored in the house and we're in the house bored, and we're bored in the house and we're in the house bored. And so let's make something together.
So my name is Jolene and my character name is Jade.
My name is Aurora Beers. My character's name is Evelyn.
My name is Eli, and my character's name is Yukundo.
So one of the first things that we did was have participants create characters, almost like an avatar of themselves, and they had the option of creating art based on that character's voice or their own voices.
So she's a philosophy student, she takes online courses, and she's very interested in trying to find the moral, the answers to moral dilemmas, even though there is no true answer. And I think she understands that, but she goes through life looking for those anyway. And she's currently on a journey of finding these answers, and it's not finished yet. So
She loves shopping and has a fashion account on Instagram. She loves to entertain and make people laugh. She likes to put a smile on people's faces, and she likes to travel and vlog. She hopes that one day she can create something so big that she makes a positive change in the world and hopefully inspires others to do the same.
And for me, I wrote his favorite way to create is music, and so I describe him as an audio visionary. And so what he's sort of creating is how can he turn paintings into sound, and that's sort of I got inspired by a person named Eri Matsumoto. So I try to inspire that type of quality in him. And so some of his favorite sort of genres of music include jazz and classics, and also indie pop.
And he likes to go hiking out in the forest, sort of climb things. He's very active. His family is a bunch of luchadores, so he likes to wrestle and fight. But he also secretly wants to get into theater and poetry.
My name is Jessica, and my character's name is Amy. So she wrote, "Today I am applying to a new internship, completing all my academic, household, and extracurricular responsibilities. I feel productive, proud, but also lost."
So my name's Mia. My character's name is Soren. So I think I'd finally like to write a film. I want it to captivate people. And I think I want them to view my stories and frames and scenes in a way that never leaves their mind. I want them to forget it and remember, and then be delighted that they did remember. I want them to watch my film and think, I can do that too. I want to be myself and not have them turn away. And I want them to feel uncomfortable, like I feel uncomfortable with myself, but persevere with that feeling until it leaves them. I don't want them to leave or suppress what it makes them feel. I want them to watch it and feel that's what it's supposed to be.
One of the questions that we like to ask at Mass Transit is, what is your favorite way to create? So the goal became to invite participants in and to have them create some sort of artistic project based around the prompt of change. So that could be a change that has happened in their life, that could be a change that they'd like to see in their life, or an overall change that they'd like to see in the world.
So my biggest change was probably like very recently during like the whole quarantine thing. So I live in like a single parent household, and like when it was like not Corona time, okay, that sounded weird, but like I feel like during Corona time, everyone was like quarantined, so they kind of had to like face the fact that like they had like a family. Like, okay, I know that sounds very weird, but it's like you're kind of like forced to like face your family members. And like I know some of my friends, they couldn't really do that, so like a lot of them found like quarantine like really boring, really depressing, because they couldn't like face their family members and like talk to them.
And as humans go through their own personal changes in their youth, it just feels insane that there are adults responsible for those lives that are just completely blind to how to interact with and also validate who the young people are in the room. I think it's insane.
I feel like a change that can happen in this world is kind of like, I guess in general, like more compassion for others. Like I feel like racism like should fundamentally be kind of like a dumb concept. Like why are you like discriminating against like another person just because they're like, I don't know, a shade darker than you? I feel like, and we're supposed to be humans too. We're supposed to be like intelligent, developed species, but we still can't get this like this kind of like this really simple idea through our heads that we're all kind of created equally. That kind of sucks. Recently, I joined this podcast at my school. It's sort of for like Asian American solidarity, especially like in the middle of like, you know, the rise in like Asian hate crimes. And I'm pretty excited. I'm going to be co-producing one of the upcoming episodes. So kind of hyped for that.
That's amazing. What's the podcast called?
It's kind of like a work in progress of the name, but it's called A plus.
Like a point in time where I did experience change that was like pretty large scale was the transition between middle school and high school. So like for context, my middle school was like completely white and like very Catholic. It was like an academy. And like I feel like because I spent so much of my life there, I was a very intolerant person. I just didn't have exposure to like different people, and like I had all of these beliefs that like I was told, and like I wasn't exposed to like anything different. And it wasn't until high school where I started to meet different people and started to like branch out and like actually experience something outside of like Catholic academy, where like I kind of changed my mindset and like a lot of my beliefs. And so I think like that period of time, like that transition period was like my change, because I feel like my relationship with religion and like my relationship with like just the world and the people around me was like completely different. I don't think it was moments. It was just like building up over freshman throughout sophomore year and just meeting new people, and then like coming to the conclusion that like everything that I was told all throughout my life before was just wrong and like very narrow-minded. I'd say because of quarantine, I started to read the news a lot more, because before I was able to ignore it. Like I just go out, I hang out with my friends, and it would be like I could pretend that things were normal. But now that like I'm at home and there's nothing to do, like whenever like the TV's on, because that's the only like form of entertainment, it's always the news, and it's always about like something really bad happening. And then like that's been like worse, like I guess this past year than it ever has been before. So then that just kind of adds to being depressed, because like you hear about like all these things happening and you can't do anything about it. But then also I think because of all of this, I have decided that I want to go into politics. Well, not even that I like politics, but I'm tired of seeing people mess up on TV and just like I'm tired. I'm so convinced that if I led this country, I could do it so much better.
I'm glad that I came because there's a lot more opportunity and I became more open-minded, but it wasn't like how I expected it to be. I was disappointed because they said when you go to the US, you're rich, you have everything. The schools are really good, but Not really. So that's what really hit me, and it has been a big change in my life.
I'm gonna geek out for a moment. And the playwright poet Federico Garcia Lorca famously once said that a play is a poem standing up. And I think what the power of the arts is, it gives concrete action to something that is maybe on paper or something that is a thought exercise. The arts have the power to make that a reality. You know, it's basically from taking something, being two-dimensional, to something that's alive and breathing and a reflection. And I think it's the best way to execute ideas in terms of knowledge on what you learned and putting it out there, right? So learning happens in many different ways and many different styles, but so do the arts, right? You have visual arts, you have dance, you have music, and you have drama, theater. What I love about theater is that it encapsulates all of it in some way and form. And I think it was Brecht who said, theater's not a mirror to hold up against society, but it is a sledgehammer that we can use in which we forge a society. And I fully subscribe to that idea that, you know, theater doesn't have to be simply like, oh, we go, we watch it, we learn something. It's like, no, it is a tool of empowerment to shape what we want to see. And I'll never stop believing that about theater. And that's why I think learning is great, but the arts are the tool that bring the learning to a whole different level of, you know, execution.
Kind of like I think one like difficulty that I have with art is like it's hard to find like my own style. Like I like other people's style a lot, and I want to be able to like design my own stuff instead of like replicating like you know what I see onto paper instead, because I think that's like how artists set each other apart is like their own like artistic identity, and I think I still have to find that part.
I think the more we/you/our communities begin to like dive deep into our individual selves, the more we'll be able to create from those authentic voices. And I think that there's a lot of books and stuff out there that are like, find an artist that inspires you and do what they do, or meet artists that do the kinds of work that you do. And I think that that's very valid. I think it's very valid to find your team, find your tribe, find your community within the type of art that you like to make. But I think there's a lot to be said to really sitting back and thinking about your own life experiences, where you're from, who you are, what your interests are, who your family is, and look at all the history of that and how that affects you, and create from that place versus creating from someone else's perspective, which you'll never be able to do. Like we as humans, we will literally never be able to be anyone else. And so I think when we're creating things, I think it's very important for us to be listening to exactly who we are in our most authentic voice as we create things.
So from there, they decided on what kind of creation they'd like to make, and it was different for everyone.
I used to film videos all the time, so I was thinking maybe I could put together like a short like video docuseries or just like put together clips.
Very easily make a satire video about politicians. And like it is like somewhat comedy, but because like they have serious roles, you could like twist it and make it seem like they're doing something serious, but they're not taking the best course of action on it. And like it's not funny, but like you can make it funny. And like I think like Jolene said, make it known that there's a deeper meaning behind it and that it's like not okay what they're doing. But like at the same time, turn into something not as depressing as it's been the entire past year.
For me, I was kind of thinking of like a comedy skit because that's what really like comes to me at first because I really like those shows that kind of take like a serious topic and they kind of like spin it into like like funny corny jokes that make you laugh, but they also make you kind of realize like, oh, this really does have like a deeper meaning. Wait, it would be kind of weird if I play like the kid, the mom, the dad, and the cousin. So I think I'm gonna have like my friends be in it.
You could even do stick figures and do what's called a storyboard. You decide what you want to see on the camera for each different shot.
So it's like a cappella, but like acting.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah. There's no music.
Yeah.
It's like without the camera. It's pared down. It's basically like the best way of describing it, I think, is like you're basically taking your sketch comedy video and turning it into a comic strip. So like one panel at a time. So like for each line or each moment or each thing, you'd be paring that down and just drawing a square. And if you could draw good, you could just make it look nice. But if you can't draw good like me, you just draw stick figures. A lot of times whenever I'm creating storyboards that way, I'll do the whole storyboard and I'm so excited about it because I'm like, this is about to be a dope music video. And I'll show it to one of my collaborators and they'll be like, this looks so stupid. Like, what did you just draw? Because I'm bad at it, but ultimately I know how it translates from being simple line drawings and simple dialogue into becoming a film.
You might already know this, but I'm definitely interested in making puppets or little like things in order to like sort of play around with during like these stories. Well, so I haven't made anything with puppets yet. I was going to. I went to like the store and then I saw the magazines. I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy some. And then I saw the prices, like $14. I'm not gonna do that. So I'm racking my brain on what else I can use to make these puppets, but so far it hasn't. I have not gotten divine inspiration yet.
I love that. I think some of the best work that I know I've been able to make has come from the necessity to be resourceful. That because I have not had access to a lot of things in the early parts of my career, I've had to be inventive. They say necessity is the mother of invention. And my passion is for artists and creators to realize that they already have everything that they need, that us having access to smartphones in this day and age means that we can fully realize film. You can make an entire film that can be seen at film festivals, that can get you to whatever level of creativity you would like to reach just by having a smartphone. And I think that that's super important, especially for young artists to realize, is that you do not have to be waiting for somebody to come around with some big camera equipment and crew.
Recently, I started with a new medium, like with watercolors, and at first I was struggling, but then afterwards it turned out to be really fun.
You started painting with watercolors?
Yeah.
I think as a culture and especially as a country, we are so results oriented. Everything is about the test and the final product and making the dollar. And we don't talk enough about process. And I think that can be very problematic when we talk about change and also when we talk about making art. And I think we undervalue what it means to be in process, and that people are often made to feel bad about not creating a result or not meeting a deadline. That process is actually okay, and that if we sit in whatever it means to make something, in the process of thinking of something and creating something, that the result will come when it comes, and forcing it is not going to make that final result, whatever it is, especially if it's change, be comfortable for anyone. So yeah, this process was about process and what it means to be in the process of change.
I'm doing like a comedy skit, and I guess like progress check wise, um, I'm ashamed to say I don't have anything down, but I have been like watching a lot of Netflix, I guess, and I've been like rewatching my favorite comedy show to kind of hopefully, I don't know, draw inspo, I guess. But other than that, I think my main concern with the format of my project is like I feel like it's the funniness because I've never done anything like this before. And my friends call me funny, I guess. But like
You
putting
are funny. That's just a thing. So,
thank you.
mhm.
But like putting that onto a script and like projecting that to like different characters, I feel like it's a real challenge for me. And at the same time, also like making the audience laugh. Like, what if they don't laugh? I would be so embarrassed. But but I don't know, one step at a time, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, I think a lot of making art is not making art. That's a thing. That's like a whole mood for artists, is that until like you can't make the thing until you made it. And I know that sounds very like simple and baseline, but it really does require a lot of process. That art is process. And the best art, visual art, performing art, any kind of art comes from an interesting process. And I think, it's the reason we're so attracted to documentaries and so attracted to seeing our favorite celebrities at home doing their thing or on set behind the scenes, because we are very attracted to the process and how things get made. And so I think to devalue what it means to be in process as an artist can be dangerous. And I think it's like amazing for us to continue to encourage ourselves to know that even thinking about it, even writing down little notes here and there are very important parts of the process. There's also to the point about feeling not funny. That's also a whole mood that I think every comedian or anyone who's interested in comedy deals with that very same thing. Because comedy is challenging because it's one of the few art forms that requires a response. That if you're singing a song, you're just singing a song, and whether people dance to it or not, fine. If you are creating a dance, people are going to watch you dance. It's a wrap. You're done. Your art, your visual art, you're going to look at it, you're going to say, this is gorgeous, or you're going to be like, this is trash, or you're going to walk away and be indifferent. But comedy specifically, people come thinking, oh, this is a funny thing. So there's a response that seems to be required. And I think that is it's one of the most difficult mediums. And I'm not just saying that because I do comedy, but I think that it is difficult because there's an innate response that people are expecting, and then you're also expecting to offer. So you're truly pouring out yourself and also your brand of comedy, which may not be everyone else's brand of comedy, and hoping that people get it, which means that hopefully they get you, which means they hopefully get the response that you're hoping for, which is that they laugh. And that's a 3-step process that is terrifying. It really can be frightening, especially in a stand-up comedy scenario, right? So the mic is on, the light is on, and the host has just called you to the stage, and now everyone in the audience is waiting for you to make them laugh. And it's the same thing with sketch comedy and writing sketch comedy. My feeling about it, and what I would say to your point about feeling that way, because it is terrifying, again, I'm just gonna say it is just keep doing it. That like, if it makes you laugh, then someone else will laugh at it. That like, you can't write something that's gonna be funny like your favorite comedian, because that's their brand, that's their comedy. You can't write something that's gonna be my comedy because it's mine. You can only speak to your own humor. And the way I go about it is I write until I laugh. And if I write something and I'm writing and I'm like, okay, there is time for filler, there's time for the in-between, but if I get to something and it makes me laugh out loud, then I'll be like, okay, we good. Like, at least I'm laughing. And then at least I'm having fun. So that no matter what, if people aren't laughing, you're like, I'm having fun, and even being fun is contagious. So I'll be talking for a long time straight, huh? This is the podcast. So.
I just been brainstorming, and I'm thinking of like doing using multiple mediums, since like I haven't really discovered like which medium I like more. So I want to kind of like put them on in like one piece, and kind of, since the theme is change, I want to kind of portray like growth, using like charcoal and then colors, and then like maybe more like physical, like embroidery and stuff. Yeah, I think I've always liked art, but like I think like before quarantine, I was too busy with my social life than my identity as an artist. But like with so much like time now, and also because like I want to kind of like, my dream like career is architecture, and I need to like establish like a portfolio. So that's why like this year I just started like working more and practicing more with these mediums. Yeah.
So I just went to the Louvre Museum yesterday in Paris, and I saw the gorgeous paintings by some of the famous artists. Their vivid colors, imageries, and heartfelt details all speak to me. And I hope to share these pieces to the blind for people like my grandparents to see. So how do we turn these paintings, these masterpieces, to sound so that the blind can see? They're missing out on the magical strokes, the beautiful details, and the love that we see with our eyes. So how do we add a second sense to it with our ears? So I'm going home to listen to some music and see how I can make this thing into reality.
This weekend, I have another wrestling match, and I've become stronger, faster, and I've become more confident in what I can do in the ring. When I was a kid, I was extremely shy and timid, and I really didn't know how to stand up for myself. I was also quite chubby from all the food my family would give me, and that never really helped my self-esteem. But now, moving forward, I want to become more confident. I want to be unafraid of myself and how I can stand up for others. But even when I have to do all these shows and I have to do all this training, I still have to work at my family's taqueria. But it's all right because I always get to learn how to cook new things, and I also get to practice my cutting skills. But every now and again, I'll like give some of the people who don't have food some of like our leftover dishes, and I always want to help my community in never being hungry again. So I want to start my own taqueria one day.
So she writes, "Dear Diary, this is Jay from California. Why did I just restate my name in a diary? Anyways, today I had the same old. I watered my plants and had Raisin Bran. I like Raisin Bran. And continued to write my book. It's about this guy named Derek and his horse that he rides around in Central Park. I'm getting to the part where Derek learns that his horse can in fact talk. And I was kind of stumped as to what the horse would even say. What are his political values? I know he's a vegan for sure, but what about the rest? How am I going to make a horse funny? I think I'm going to put a stop to thinking and go chill to the nearest beach. Because duh, I'm in California.
We do interactive theater and video and workshops, but our company is full of different kinds of artists. So we have dancers, we have DJs, we have musicians, we have singers, we have folks that have their own branded content, just all kinds of art. And so I'm really excited about inviting other young people into our circle at Mass Transit.
So I have a history with Mass Transit Street Theater and Video, and I've worked with them in the past. I know Lynn Fisher well. And one thing that's just always impressed me about Mass Transit is the connection that they're able to build with youth is unlike anything I've ever seen from any other organization. And I think a lot of it has to do with that Lynn also has so many young adults that help her create art, perform art, put it all together. And they speak the language of youth, you know, that teenagers relate to, that young adults relate to. So I know that this was like an organization that I could turn to right away, and they would have the people who could successfully lead these high school students to tell their stories effectively and in a way that's meaningful, that matters, and that it is driven by the students. You know, a lot of traditional theater processes, like the director shows up, they tell you what to do. I don't think that's Mass Transit. I think Mass Transit is very much about collaboration and creating the material, mining the material, finding out what to get from each student, and then being able to all put together magically into some show that makes sense and represents the story of, you know, who these kids are at this moment in time. And what I love about Mass Transit is they're not afraid to deal with difficult topics that a lot of people shy away from. They're right there like, let's get to it, let's do this, you know, let's get the stories, you know, let's mine the material. And then they put it together in a show, and that's exactly what we were looking for. And again, people who know how to deal with students of color, you know, the BIPOC community, because, you know, there's a lot of people that, you know, they do this work, but for us, representation matters. So we knew we could turn to Mass Transit.
What's good? Any good news from anyone or anyone that anyone knows?
So both my parents recently got vaccinated, and I recently also became eligible to get vaccinated. So I have a scheduled meeting to get the vaccine within the next month. So I'd say that's pretty good.
Recently, well, actually not recently, for the past few months, I've been like cooking by myself for myself. I've been trying to like recreate my favorite iced coffee from outside, because obviously with COVID, I couldn't go outside. And I finally did it. Well, to a degree that I'm okay with, that I don't have to pretend that it's okay.
I got a new haircut. It's kind of weird seeing my forehead like this, but it's starting to grow on me.
I don't think it's any surprise to anyone that this past year has produced the most video content ever in the history of the world, I would say. Between Zoom and video calls and FaceTiming and all of the different ways that we communicate with one another when we're not able to be in the room with one another, we have collectively been on screens more than I think anyone in the history of the world. And it feels very lucky to be able to be with young people and to be with artists and capture that time.
I want the students to know that they created something, that they explored something. The three words that come to mind are, we were here. All this happened. And as, again, people 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road, God knows what the world will look like. This will be a testimony that we were here when this happened, when the world forever changed for basically a whole year. And it wasn't just the pandemic, it was everything that happened last year, right? You know, some of the students joked around that, you know, AP test exams, you know, 20, 30 years from now, when they cover the year 2020, it's going to be a lot of cramming and a lot of studying because everything that happened in the year 2020. And I want people to know that, you know, they are living reminders of that which people try so desperately to forget sometimes. You know, everyone's going to want to forget that this happened. People are going to want to put these times behind them. But again, we need something to remind us of what happened, why it happened, how we coped, and how we survived. Because inevitably, mankind will face another, you know, challenge that will seem insurmountable. And, you know, you never know when the next virus is going to be, when the next cataclysmic event is going to be. And, you know, we're lucky in that this one, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And next time, the light might not be as evident. So we hope that there's a piece of art out there that people can turn to and say, you know what, they didn't give up. You know, these people are living reminders that there's a way out, or that better is coming down the road. And that's so, especially for the youth, so important, so fundamental right now.
As long as we're expressing ourselves, we're living in our freedom and teaching other folks to live in their freedom too. So, all that to say, this is how we are approaching this thing, is from the inside of us out. The more you are figuring out who you are and your own moral compass and the way you want to see your life operate, the more you will be prepared to bring that to any sort of character, career, community that you are creating. Yeah. I think that's all I have to say about that. Usually how this works is we'll leave, and then like I'll lay down tonight and I'll be like, dang, I didn't say that. And it was the last one, so. But I think that's all. Yeah, any final words from anyone? Or I could just. All right, awesome. I'm sending so much peace and so much love to y'all as you go out into the world and graduate and accelerate and elevate and all of the other, and also eat and ate, all the eights. Yeah, thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to hearing from you, or never hearing from you again until I see you winning on some stage or screen or art gallery or podcast. So, all right. Thanks, y'all. Yeah, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evenings. All right. Have a good day. Bye.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
You too. Bye-bye. Thanks so much. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Thank you so much for doing this. It's been really inspirational sitting here and listening to everyone, and especially listening to your story. I really loved it. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.